So they've recreated Etruscan wine for us. We have flowers, pepper, honey, and cheese. I'm not used to having flowers in my wine. These stones are the same stones we saw in the tunnels of the castle. So the work that they do is UNESCO Heritage certified.
Yes.
That's incredible. Imagine how many jobs there are like that. I'm UNESCO.
You are UNESCO.
Not a place.
No.
These hands. We are in the palazzo of the Bianchi family. I've got burro y acciuga, butter and anchovy, which I think to many people sounds gross, but it's delicious. And then I've got an Aperol Spritz. I like this lifestyle, I'm into it. Aperitivo time, something we should do more. Il Bleu is a blend. We set up a little competition. We're gonna each blend, see if we can get our own Il Bleu going.
The first one is very much what we are doing, and of course what we believe is what we want to achieve.
So Jesse wins. Good job, Jesse.
I tried, you know.
Jesse, congratulations for winning. You get to go to Tuscany. Let's do this. Okay.
We're rolling, Rob.
Pfizer.
Oh, that's right.
The very first time I came to Italy, I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd been here before. It's a place that seems haunted because you can feel its history all around you. From the Etruscans to the Romans, Venice to Sicily, war by war, leader by leader, you can feel just how much Italy has helped shape the course of Western civilization. And Tuscany is one of the regions that has had the biggest influence on that course. Today, we know Tuscany is the home of Chianti Classico and rolling, sun-drenched hills, rife with romantic movie settings around every medieval corner. But throughout its history, the region has also been home to agricultural production, a world financial center, and of course, the endless contributions to the art world by way of Florence and the Renaissance. Count Niccolo Rossi de Montalcino knows this history very well. His family purchased the Torre Icona estate back in the 1930s, although records of the castle itself date back to the 9th century. If it's one thing you've learned about me on this show, it's I love history. And places like Torre Icona always inspire awe when I consider everything these castles and vineyards have been privy to over the centuries.
I'm mystified by this because it's very non-American for me. There's a big castle there, and I can see like a medieval castle built into Renaissance, and then behind us is a tower. Give us the story of Torre Icona, because this is blowing my mind.
Okay. What is really particular of Torre Icona is all the history around this place. It used to be an economy by itself. This tower was a windmill. We have a water mill, all the agriculture and the cattle. You have the place where the wood was worked, where the metal was worked. It was a closed economy by itself. The background of my family is the vermouth business. Martini Rossi, so the martini word that everybody uses, come from my ancestors, and my grandfather fell in love with this property, and since then has been in the family. We are giving a future. We want to share this property with the tourists in Tuscany because a piece of our heart is here.
And we're so close to Florence, yet we feel like we're in a whole nother place.
Yeah, that's also something that's really about Tuscany. How in 15 minutes out of Florence, you are in the countryside and you forget about the city.
I'm all into this Tuscan lifestyle. This is, as a country boy who now lives in the city, I feel at peace right now. We have the birds, the olive trees, the cypress, the vineyards. It's really, really stunning. And I think anybody that gets into wine becomes a history person because it's all about the stories. And every moment you make in wine is not about tomorrow, it's about 20, 30 years from now. It makes you feel, in a good way, insignificant. That feeling that the world is big, the world is always changing, and the world will continue to go.
You see, it's remarkable what you're saying. My parents put a lot of effort in restoring the villa and what we're doing today. And I can really see my father have a little bit your same line of thinking. We are maintaining something that has come in our family through history and will continue its history, will go beyond all of us. And so you maintain it and you transfer it to the next generation as something stunning, something wonderful, testimony of history and of all things that have happened around here.
That's amazing. Cheers. Thanks.
Cheers.
The testimony of Italy's history is not just found in the ancient stone castles and museums in places like Florence that woo tourists that come to this region. It has also captured the hearts of a younger generation of Italians. There is a movement dedicated to practicing older local traditions in food, wine, and culture, and bringing them into a modern context to ensure their future.
Well, it's really cool to see. I mean, two young guys working something that, and I think in our American heads, this seems like a very old kind of style place. What does it mean to you to continue your family's history in doing the alimentari and the restaurant?
We hope to maintain the Tuscany tradition. In the Florentine countryside, we have the history of our land, and we want to continue this tradition and this history with to choice best lamb from small butchers, sheep from small shepherds, and also for the wine. We have local producers, really lovely. The wine are really good because you can drink in every moment by the day, and it's our mission to continue some history about the food. And
you might look at this as something, you said I would expect this not to be in the younger generation, but there is nothing more fashionable, more modern than the way these places are. It's just fantastic. It's what people are rediscovering, right? It's where you want to be, where you want to have food, where you want to treat yourself.
Grazie mille. Thank you so much for today.
Great.
This is amazing.
Thank you.
The Tuscan region may be best known for Chianti, but Great Sangiovese is also grown just 26 miles south of Siena, where its name changes to Brunello. Of course, like all things in Italian wine, it gets a little confusing. Brunello is a synonym of Sangiovese, and here in Montalcino, they use the Grosso clone of Sangiovese, or Big Sangiovese. I know it's confusing, but just follow me here. Brunello is the grape, aka Sangiovese. Montalcino is the place. Put it all together, and you've got Brunello di Montalcino. Montalcino has seen a rapid growth in the world of wine over the past 40 years that has led the region to some interesting changes. Massimiliano Giovannone, a former colleague and dear friend of mine from Del Posto and a native to the area, has had a front row seat to those changes. When he was just a kid growing up in Montalcino, it was one of the poor, unknown regions of Tuscany. But since the 1980s, when Brunello di Montalcino was awarded one of the first DOCG designations, it has become one of Italy's best known and lucrative wine communes. It also has some of the most stunning views south of Siena.
So this may be one of the most amazing views I've ever seen. This is a 13th century fortress.
Yep.
That was the last stronghold of the Sienese Republic against the Florentines in the 15th century?
Yeah, in the 16th century.
16th century, so the 1500s. 1500s. But from here we can see everything almost, the whole appellation.
Yeah, you can see pretty much the whole appellation, you know, how great is Montalcino, why the wine is, you know, are so good, and you know, how they say a lot of winemakers here, you know, to make bad wine in Montalcino, you have to put a great effort because it's easy to make good wine.
But in terms of Italian wine, it's a relatively recent phenomena with the Biondi Santi family kind of establishing Sangiovese here. But before it was like, this was a very poor place.
It was a very poor place.
And now you're saying it's becoming Napa Valley, and that happened very quickly.
It happened, yeah. If you think about Jeff, that, you know, if you want to drink a Brunello from the 60s or the 70s, I think it's first hard to find around. And I think, you know, the winery that they were making Brunello back then, you can count in two hands. You know, there were maybe, I don't know, 20 producers.
How many are now?
You know, I think 250, 260, 250 at the Consorzio.
Wow. Well, it's absolutely beautiful up here.
It's amazing.
What a great view.
I think it's a place that was kissed by God many years ago.
For Brunello, it was not so many years ago that Montalcino formed the Consorzio, a group of growers that set out to implement standards for growing, harvesting, and producing Brunello di Montalcino. Masi has seen the effects of this on the community. Just as the world saw the rise of Napa Valley in the 1970s after the infamous Judgment of Paris, in which a group of tasters chose American wine over French wine for the first time, Montalcino as a city and region also experienced a boom driven by collectors and wealthier tourists. Sangiovese has always been the grape that made the everyday wine for the locals, so the effects that a luxury wine like Brunello di Montalcino had was surprising to say the least. Patricio Cencinoni, a former president of Montalcino's Consorzio, knows what it's like to navigate all of this. Not only has he been president twice, he has also been a grower and winemaker himself at the Campana winery, where he has seen the changes that have taken hold over the past 50 years.
So your family was one of the original founders of the Consorzio, and you've been a historic producer. How would you define best what makes the terroir and the land of Montalcino so special to grow such amazing wines?
Prima cosa il territorio è piuttosto limitato, quanto è un solo comune, però con diciamo 1000 sfaccettature diverse, quanto andiamo dai 150 ad oltre 600 metri di altitudine, con esposizioni completamente diverse, quindi nei 4 punti cardinali, vista la conformità diciamo un po' a piramide della collina di Montalcino, quindi 1000 sfaccettature che messe insieme concorrono a fare un livello qualitativo veramente importante, sia in Italia, in Toscana, in Italia, forse anche nel mondo, insomma. Beh, diciamo, è una grande soddisfazione, senz'altro, produrre qui a Montalcino, anche una grande sfida, perché ogni anno ti devi inventare, diciamo, anche nel vigneto una coltivazione speciale in base all'andamento climatico, comunque coltivare il vigneto in modo che il risultato sia un'uva sana, perfettamente matura, che sia in grado poi di produrre un vino all'altezza del marchio di Montalcino.
Brunello di Montalcino may be relatively young in the grand scheme of the Italian winemaking tradition, but many producers here are going back to pre-industrial practices to produce these high-quality wines. Some of that may be a reflection of the broader push towards organic and sustainable practices, but for Count Francesco Morone Cinzano of the Col d'Orcia winery, returning to traditional farming methods isn't about a trend, but a way of life that is underscored by the richness of Montalcino's amazing terroir.
This is a young wine region in the terms of Italian history of wine. Can you tell us, why Montalcino and why Tancredi? Why did the pairing create what we have today?
Well, at some point I started describing the success of Montalcino as a magic formula of Sangiovese in this land and with the hand of the different producers here. And then I discovered that there is magic in Montalcino. I discovered the story of Clemente Santi, the first creator of Brunello. What he discovered was that the wine, the Sangiovese in Montalcino, in the cellars, didn't turn into vinegar like the rest of the wines of the world and most other wine-producing regions in Italy and France and elsewhere. And he started working on that very special feature. There is a magic element to Montalcino that has made Brunello what it is.
We are standing in these magnificent vineyards, but before we talk about that, behind us right now is probably one of the most beautiful oak trees I've seen in a long, long time. It's huge. What's the story?
Well, it's a symbol for us. It's a symbol of our care for the environment. So for us, it's really represents the monumentality of is that a word?
It is now.
of nature and how it can really produce incredible monuments like this.
Being around this organic vineyard and the biodiversity of this area, the microclimate, are you alone in organics or are a lot of your neighbors now all practicing as a community?
No, I'm not alone. There's many producers, small producers that started before me. So I have certainly examples to look up to. And it's growing. And what really gives me a lot of pleasure is the fact that not only wine producers, not only grape growers, but the society, as I call it, the teachers at school, the pharmacist, the architect, the accountant in the village, they are great supporters. So it's not just the wine producer; it's all the community that is pulling in the right direction, or what I consider the right direction.
What do you feel has caused that shift?
I think the values of millennials are different from the values of my generation, and they ascribe greater importance to global concerns, such as the way we have killed a lot of our environment with the introduction of chemical products in agriculture, and we need to rewind.
Was it that generation or your children who helped inspire you to move forward in this? You're not just a farm of grapes that does it organically. You do everything this way now.
Yes. I think definitely the younger generations have given inspiration, and Cordoccia started when it wasn't as popular as it is today, but you could see it coming, I think. Going back to the concept of farm as in the old days, producing what you need and consuming what the land is capable of giving you, a little bit the concept that we're applying here again as in the old days.
Horses are big, beautiful beasts. They're, I haven't ridden a horse in 2 years. And, it's always getting on a horse is a little challenging as a large man. But I'm gonna do this. A little gamba. You want me to grab her here? Yeah. It's a little windy, Lucky. You're doing good. Bernardino, thank you very much for having us here. You're the winemaker and manager of Argiano. Where are we exactly in Montalcino?
Thank you for being here, first of all. And we are in the southwest side of the hill of Montalcino. Montalcino is a very big hill. The village is on top. There are different macro areas. Here we are in the southwest direction. Over there, we don't see it, but there's the Mediterranean Sea just above those hills. And we are in the heart of Argiano right now. We are in the place where all began many centuries ago.
Siena is the biggest, closest city, and you're Sienese.
Yeah.
You're what was the contrada you're from?
Selva,
the rhinoceros. Yeah. What is the Siena link to Montalcino and its wine? Where is this family relationship?
So it is very important, not only because I'm from Siena, but because truly Montalcino and Siena has always been connected. They are pretty similar. They are both medieval. One is a village, one in a city, but in a certain sense, there's this sense of authenticity in both the places. There is this proud of being part of the history, and there is also this mentality that is a little bit particular. So we have the contradas in Siena, the palio thing, so it's like having many different little families and everybody is fighting for who is the best. And the same thing is happening here in Montalcino. There's a beautiful community between the producers, but with this sense of trying to fight for being the best among the other ones. And this is part of our culture, our history, our roots.
Montalcino's roots reach back a long way, and many of them are intertwined with Siena's history since this hilltop commune provided safe retreat from the many conflicts and wars the region has seen, from the Romans through World War II. The Abbey of Sant'Antimo is one such sanctuary that's construction began in the 8th century. Though unlike a lot of ancient landmarks and buildings, this abbey isn't just a tourist destination, but once again an active monastery since the arrival of the Order of Premontre monks in the 1990s.
If my history is correct, the chapel's from 917.
Yeah.
which is crazy. And this new church around it is from 1117.
Yes, right.
So this has been a center for, and today it's still a working abbey. There are monks that live here.
Yeah, absolutely. The monks who lives here has been an important, very, very important and strategic center for the church. From 11 to 13, 14 century was absolutely incredibly powerful also, the abbey itself. And then there was, time after time, different kind of group of monks, always related to San Benedetto rule. Actually, they are related with wine because, the monks are the one who really did the job in the Middle Ages and then Renaissance time for preserving the vines and the culture of wine all over Europe, especially in Burgundy, south of France, in Spain, and in Italy, of course.
Well, I'm embarrassed to say I've driven by this abbey and taken pictures of it, but I didn't realize it had over 1,000 years of continuous history, which is nuts.
And if you're stressed and you need a place to relax and stay calm, this is absolutely the best you can find.
This is kind of the meditative center of Montalcino.
Absolutely, yes.
The foundations of Tuscany were set centuries ago by the artifacts built into the countryside by the people who lived in these medieval hillside towns. So when it came time to cultivate a wine that would represent this awe-inspiring region, winemakers aimed to start at the top, with regulations put in place right out of the gate requiring the aging of wines for 6 years to achieve the Reserva level. Brunello di Montalcino naturally started out as a high-end wine. So it begs the question, where do you go from here?
Montalcino and Brunello started basically at the top. The idea was to produce a wine of the highest quality level, and it achieved so much success in such a short amount of time. What do you do to go above that?
Well, I think right now it's a very interesting moment because it's true that Montalcino is born as a high-end wine, but it's true that we are discovering right now the amazing potential of this wine. And so in order to do that, I think we have to grow even more in quality. And not only because it's true overall the quality is high, but theoretically I would love that every single bottle of Montalcino produced by every single producer will be outstanding quality. This is the goal. Because there's no reason to make bad wine in a reason that it's one of the best terroir for Sangiovese, for sure the best terroir for Sangiovese. You have to make only outstanding wine everywhere.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Cheers, y'all. I know, I definitely feel like I was meant to be out in the open, not necessarily inside all day long. I like being with the animals. I like the smell. I like the poop. Oh, look at them fighting. Nice. Getting started early. Gotta know how to do that. Well, maybe it's time for lunch. We've seen them in the wild, now let's see them in the oven.